Thank you for tuning into the Art Career Podcast. I'm your host, Emily McElwreath. I have dedicated my entire career to building partnerships in the art community as an advisor, curator, educator, and gallery director. Art encapsulates creativity and imagination. Unfortunately, the world that surrounds this essential form of expression is overwhelmingly exclusive. In a ridiculously elite world, the art career is breaking barriers by letting you sit in on candid, straightforward conversations with leading art professionals, serving the community with insights, secrets, and stories, demystifying the art market with icons of our generation. We're so excited to have you here. Let's dive in. Marilyn Minter's paintings, photographs, prints, and videos investigate how the beauty industry expertly creates and manipulates desire, beauty standards, and pleasure through images. Marilyn often depicts the female body in a variety of ways, from up-close views of women's feet in heels and eyeshadow-covered eyelids to more explicit sexual imagery involving drool, sweat, cum, drips, and more. Her work is sensual, visceral, complex, and very contradictory, often exposing intimacies we all know exist, but haven't really seen an image of before. Marilyn's work, which gained popularity in the 90s, has been the subject of numerous solo exhibitions around the world, including the retrospective Pretty Dirty, which appeared at the Brooklyn Museum in 2017. I will never forget seeing Marilyn's video smash in that retrospective of those killer shoes fiercely kicking through plates of glass. Marilyn, you've paved so many roads for the arts. You're an outspoken feminist artist and activist who has eloquently and masterfully created a lifetime of work that moves us emotionally and brings social change. I personally wanted to start off by thanking you so much for making this world a better place, and most of all, for bringing back pubic hair.
You're so cute.
How are you doing today, Marilyn?
I'm not bringing it back, unfortunately, but I'm making a case for it.
Well, you are for me, so thank you.
Oh, there's always a reaction to, this is what I've learned through being so old, basically, that the eye seems to crave what it doesn't see. And to see, people lasering off their pubic hair, fashions change. And I remember, you look at these actresses from the 20s who had these pencil-thin eyebrows, and then they never grow back. So, I tell young girls, don't laser. Do whatever you want. Shave it, make it purple. But, laser's forever, and fashion is fleeting.
And look what the eyebrows look like
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
They're like big bushes that are, they're like
exactly.
brushing them up now.
Exactly.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to having a very candid conversation about you and your career. Let's start here. When exactly did you realize that you made it as an artist, and what did that feel like?
Well, I don't know anybody who thinks they've made it as an artist. I know that sounds disingenuous, but, that's like saying, well, once you make it as an artist, what are you going to do next? I think it's like this kind of journey all the time. Like the creative process is all about making things from your vision. And it doesn't stop when you start to make money from it. I'm still, I'm still making interesting things. And and one thing leads to another. And I always try and listen to that inner voice and just make everything that I do from that one place.
That never goes away.
Yeah, it never goes away. So making it as an artist, does that mean I don't have to teach anymore for money? I don't have to teach anymore for money, but I love teaching. Why would I give it up?
Well, you're constantly teaching.
Yeah.
Okay, so in reference to your career blossoming later in life, would you agree with that statement?
It definitely has blossomed later in life, but this is the norm for female artists in my age group.
So you've said that being marginalized keeps you hungry?
I think it's a blessing and a curse. And yeah, so I wasn't a big hit at 25, but very few artists are. Maybe Cindy is the only Cindy Sherman, who's my friend, and I'm more power to her. She changed art history. But other than, a handful of women that you can think of, most women get recognized later in life. Historically, that might be changing with people like Dana Schutz and Nicole Eisman. And I'm so happy to see that
You're really seeing more and more of that in the last
in
decade,
the last
for
decade.
sure.
Yeah, I sort of always say this that the art world loves young bad boys and old ladies.
Oh, I love that. I've never heard that before. I love that.
Well, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Louise Nevelson, Louise Bourgeois, Joni Mitchell. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just ongoing. Yeah. People are now just seeing how great Helen Frankenthaler was.
That school is, in the past, 10 years?
Yeah, it's unbelievable how she forgot. It kills me. She kills me. I look at her paintings and oh my God, she was so good. Yeah.
Oh, her and Joan Mitchell.
Oh, Joan Mitchell's one of my favorite painters.
She is?
Yeah.
I love that. Well, you spoke about Cindy, and my next question was about some of your friends that are artists. They've obviously been a major source of inspiration and sustainability for your career. How did you develop that network of artist friends in your early career? Because this is going to be a podcast that a lot of young professionals are going to be listening to. And
well, I always say that being an artist is super competitive, and we're really competitive. And as females, I don't think we're more competitive than male artists, but they seem to be able to work together as a team until they get to the top, the boys. And then they try and kill each other off.
Right.
And so my theory is, well, let's just work as a team, girls, because I'm really jealous of really good female artists. I'm jealous of really good male artists. And to the point where I see a really good artist, and God, I wish they'd die, and that's my first thought.
So you can have that space.
Yeah, they're taking it away from me. And that's all bullshit. And so I just do the opposite action. And that's what I did ever since I was really young. I went over to the girls and the boys that I was really jealous of and said, God, your work is so good. I'm such a fan. And I don't want to do that. But once you say those words, the poison drains. And then you actually mean it.
And then you genuinely feel that.
Yeah, and then you become colleagues.
Because it is so good.
That's a trick. It's a trick. You got to trick yourself into behaving in a healthy way because we're so competitive.
We're so competitive.
Yeah. And that's, I think, inbred with females and males. It's just who we are. It's like human nature.
Well, I also think there's been more room for males to grow than females.
That's what I would love to see, some mediocre females too,
Yeah.
That would be maybe there'll be some equanimity when we see some mediocre females all over the art world.
But now you make it as a female and you are.
Yeah, well, even right now you have to be twice as good as most people.
It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that.
But in the 50s, you had to be 5 times as good.
Oh, yeah.
Or, and every year it gets a little more equal. I look at my age group, 73. The men that are my age group have never seen powerful women growing up. Their mothers were not. There were nurses, teachers. That could be a power in itself. I'm not degrading those professions, but they're not CEOs and surgeons and lawyers.
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, entrepreneurs. Those are wonderful. And socializing another human being is the hardest thing there is to do, being a housewife. These are things that aren't given a power, though, in the culture.
No.
So what I'm trying to say is that your generation, the boys that are your age, grow up with powerful women in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to change everything. So my generation of men don't really believe that women can be great artists. It's hard for them.
Well, they haven't seen.
They've never seen women in power.
Right.
They didn't grow up with them. And so there's a handful of men who are feminists in my generation. In your generation, all the men are feminists.
Well, they have to be.
Yeah, they have to be.
Burned at the stake.
Yeah. There's a joke I say. What do you call someone who's not a feminist? An asshole. Isn't
Yeah.
that perfect,
Yes,
right?
it's
Yeah.
perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I'm spending some time at an artist, Natalie Baxter's home in Wassaic, New York for a couple months right now. And it's so interesting living in New York City. I mean, all the men are feminine. Again, they'll be burned at the stake. But up there in the Hudson Valley, I mean, they're
Tell me
still
about
in
it.
upstate
Yeah,
New
yeah.
York. You've got those guys that God help them if they come
It's a
here.
perfect
I
example.
mean,
Putin.
please.
Toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens.
But you're right. And I've known you for a short time, but there is a certain level of positivity that you carry with you. And, with this hope of looking towards the future, we are, for the most part, seeing less toxic masculinity. And there's, it doesn't.
We've got to learn how to tolerate complexity.
Yes.
And that's,
Well, what do
we
you
all
mean
have
by
to.
that?
That we just can't see things as black and white. Because nothing is nothing. There's an exception to every rule. People make mistakes. People are imperfect. They're shot through with imperfection. And what's making us sicker is trying to filter out that imperfection. And we just have to learn to accept flawed people, because we all are. People make mistakes. They become insensitive. Even the most enlightened people can say something stupid. We have to make room for redemption. I mean, I do believe some people should be canceled.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
when is redemption not a possibility?
No, you cancel Hitler, you cancel Putin, you cancel Nick Fuentes, you cancel Richard Spencer. These are outright Nazis, white supremacists. But to cancel a museum director for doing something insensitive, that's like gives them no chance to make a mistake, say I'm sorry, and redeem themselves. We just can't throw people away. I learned that from Michael Vick. You don't know who he is, probably.
No.
He was a black quarterback in the
Okay.
90s, and he raised dogs for dog fighting. He was this young kid, 25, yeah, and like so insensitive. That's how he was raised, and they
It's
wanted
only
to,
new.
yeah. And then there's no excuse on so many levels, but they wanted to fire him as a quarterback. I thought, well, that's not really right. This is somebody who's worked all his life to be a gifted athlete, and then take away that. You're just going to turn somebody into an angry human. And he redeemed himself. He's actually an animal rights activist now. He's on the board of the ASPCA. He learned from that and became the opposite of what he was.
And I feel like when you give people space for redemption,
You
they'll
have to
oftentimes surprise you.
Yeah. And I knew you can't fire a human being who's worked all his life. This is to do something that's just not going to make him or her get better. You just make them angry and crazy.
Let's pivot for a second to work-life love balance. Where did you and your husband meet, and when?
I met him in 1991. No, we started dating. We didn't marry till I guess 10 years later.
And you're still together,
30 years,
which is very rare, as you know. You have so many projects going on right now. Seems like a broad question, but what are some ways you find balance in your work and personal life?
Some ways I find balance.
Yeah.
Well, I make compromises.
All the
Yeah,
time?
all the time. Yeah, you can't be in a relationship without compromising. Yeah, and things that bother me, I just like, okay, is it worth it to make a big scene over? Just get some perspective. Don't sweat the small stuff, because it's all small stuff.
I always say, is this the bridge I'm going to die on
Yeah,
today?
exactly. Yeah, this is really corny, but I'd rather be happy than be right.
Well, it's not corny. I'm just learning that, I usually thought every bridge was the bridge I wanted to die on.
Yeah.
But, as you mature and hopefully
Tolerate complexity.
Yeah, absolutely. This seems like an organic way to pivot. If it's okay with you, to the topic that hits home for myself and so many of us, addiction. I've seen so many artists move through periods of drug abuse, from addiction to recovery, oftentimes not to recovery. You seem pretty open about being sober. Can you speak at all to your past drug use?
Well, I come from a family of, so Joe's genetically loaded. There's nobody in my family that isn't an addict. Yeah, nobody without my last name, basically. And some of us got sober, and most of us don't. And I was one of the lucky ones.
And when did you find sobriety in your life?
1985.
Okay. And you were how old?
I don't know, 38, 39?
And what motivates you? I mean, this is, again, such a broad question. There can be so many answers, but you've been sober for a very long time.
Oh, yes.
And you live and work in the art world. You're very successful. What is the motivation for you?
My concern is not, am I going to, shoot heroin, or, am I going to take an oxy today? Or no, that's not my concern. My concern is not contributing to the chaos, and that's the hard part, not acting like an addict.
I mean, I'm not an addict. I come from major addiction. I've been in Al-Anon for almost 6 years now, but I am totally on the same page as you, because it's really, at the end of the day, certainly not about drugs or alcohol for me. It's about
doing the next right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not doing the next very wrong thing.
Or just not doing anything and just letting things happen. Yeah,
Yep.
going with the flow.
And not living in the black and white.
Right.
And, that's
trying to live a spiritual life.
Trying to live a spiritual life. And
that has nothing to do with religion.
No. I always have that conversation with people. I believe I've been deeply spiritual from a very young age, and it really doesn't have anything to do with religion. But I think whether you're in program, sober, not sober, it's for me, it's been a helpful thing to have some sort of.
But you really can't proselytize. That just doesn't work.
No.
It alienates people. You just have to be a powerful example.
Big time. Yeah. Well, you are.
So far.
Yeah, day by day, right?
Yeah, today. But when I was, in the midst of my addiction, I couldn't even imagine. I hadn't had one day in 10 years that I wasn't high. I didn't know that I could live without drugs and alcohol. I didn't know. For me, it was like air. And it was the biggest shock of my life to look at reality, to actually not know what was going to come next. Because when you're an addict, you really know how you're going to feel all the time. Even when you're crashing, okay, that feeling. Life doesn't allow that. In real life, you never know what's going to come next. And learning how to tolerate that is the big lesson.
For all of us.
For everyone, yeah, without putting 3 layers of cotton batting between me and the world. But, after 36 years, going on 37, I know that I can get through almost anything. I see it all the time, and, just try and keep doing the next right thing.
So this inevitably has obviously affected your career.
Well, I don't try and make things happen anymore.
Did it just happen?
I just let them. Yeah, I just make my work, and hopefully the zeitgeist catches up to it. When I'm trying to make things happen, just blow up in my face.
And have you always felt that way? Because I guess you
No.
could say, as a successful artist, maybe that's a little easier to just say, I allow things to happen.
But even when I wasn't successful, that's the only thing that worked. Yeah.
The only time you would be happy with the work
When
produced.
I try and made things happen, it blew up. The opposite happened. I stopped them from happening. It was always just making the work and then letting things flow. And this person saw it, and then another person saw it, and then it was like, oh yeah, maybe we want to do something with that.
I mean, you should maybe write a self-help book, because everything
I can't
that
write
you're
it
saying,
all.
you can't.
Not
No,
at
are you a
all.
horrible writer?
Terrible. I can't spell. Yeah.
Hey, you can't be
Terrible
good.
writer.
You can't be good at it all.
Oh, I'm not good at anything else.
Art, that's it?
That's it. I'm a good teacher.
You're a very good teacher.
Yeah, but I'm a terrible everything else. I mean, I have severe dyslexia with numbers. and transpose numbers all the time. I have to, write down address. I can't tell you how many parties I've gone to where instead of 56 Crosby, it's 65 Crosby, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that must make things frustrating and
No, and I can't speak
difficult.
any languages. And, like you could probably, I never could be a lawyer. I would never have been able to do pretty much anything than what I'm doing. I don't have any other skill sets.
I kind of feel the same. I kind of feel the same way. I mean,
Mhm.
I would never make it in med
Oh
school,
God,
law
no. Yeah, and I love
school.
animals, and I couldn't even be a vet.
I would kill them
Yeah.
by accident. As someone extremely passionate about mental health, seeing a therapist is essential to my quality of life. We'd like to take this moment to announce how thrilled we are to partner with the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp. If you think you might be feeling anxious, depressed, or even just overwhelmed, being alone with your thoughts can be an isolating feeling. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't even have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. You just fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. It's that easy. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced BetterHelp therapist. And just for the Art Career podcast listeners, we will offer 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/TAC. That's better, BETTER, help, HELP.com/TAC. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring the Art Career podcast. We touched a little upon artists supporting artists, women supporting women. Recently, when visiting your studio, you said to me, you have to be kind to people.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't remember what we were talking about, but it was
Yeah.
something about me losing my temper. And, you looked at me, and that seems like an obvious statement, but it really hit me. I've now done studio visits with most of your employees, and they all speak about how incredibly pleasant it is to work with you. So thank you for that, A. And B, how do you like your studio to function? And do you really live by that? It seems to me you do.
Well, I created a team, and we've been together for so long. And just, the people I hire have character, and they have to like what they do. It's repetitive and kind of boring, but it can be really therapeutic. And if they hate what they do, I mean, I've worked for other artists, and everybody I've worked for, I worked for one of the kindest artists, and he was so generous and kind. His name's
Who?
Kenneth Nelson. And I just, I thought, well, don't you want to have that? I did work with a real, asshole. And
Who?
I'm not going to say. Yeah. I mean, I have done that. I have worked with assholes. And I want people to want to come to work.
Yeah.
Because then, you can see it even in the work. If you hate what you're doing, it shows.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can't hide it.
No, you really can't. You support any woman using sexual imagery.
Well, it's so hard for women. Yeah.
After all your work pictures what it's like to be female, what it's like to be constantly looked at. Who are some of the female artists exploring sexuality that are inspiring you lately?
Anyone who does it at all. It's so rare, to be able to pull it off. To make, is there a female, gaze? I don't even know. But I like everybody who's trying to make it. Women should own the production of imagery and for their own amusement and pleasure. So anyone who's even taking, any stab in that direction, Petra Collins, or
Jenna Gribben.
yeah, anyone really. Everybody who, tries it at all. More power to them. Well, you know who paved the way for me, and I didn't even know it, was Betty Tompkins. I didn't, she was making radical work in the 60s and didn't even show it to anybody till the 90s.
And probably because there's no way it would have
No
been
one could even see it.
received.
Yeah. But also Carol Lee Schneeman and Judith Bernstein, all of those women who worked with sexual imagery. I mean, there was a ton of them that I've learned since then. Penny Singer and Slinger and Valerie Export, just brilliant. And they were all marginalized to the point where you didn't even know they existed.
Did you feel brave doing what you were doing ever, or was it an organic?
It was organic. I never for a minute said, oh, this is what gave me the idea to work with hardcore porn. I saw the Mike Kelly show. And I saw the Mike Kelly show at Metro Pictures, and it was all work made out of detritus from the attic, a bunch of old ratty dolls, candles burning on tables, stuffed animals, stuffed animal paintings. And I thought, my God, this is like what an adolescent girl would make art out of. And I thought, if a woman artist made this work, she wouldn't get the time of day. But this is an intellectual from California working with throwaway culture, pathetic culture, and rainbows and unicorns and felt banners. And I thought, okay, what subject matter have women never done? And I thought, oh, porn. But I thought, well, no, Carol Lee Sheeman's worked with it, Judy Bernstein's worked with it. So I have to do hardcore porn. And I thought, well, does it change the meaning if a woman artist works with this subject matter? This is 1988, 89. And I thought, well, I'll find out. But the problem was that I was in the middle of political correctness the first time that I'd seen it. And I didn't have answers. I was asking these questions. Does it change the meaning? I still don't know the answers.
I can't even believe I'm asking this question because I truly don't care, but I'm curious. Your husband was a stockbroker. How did he react to this in the 80s?
Oh, he would have scared the devil out of him if I'd shown him my work right away. But we were friends for a long time before I let him come to the studio.
Really?
Yeah. I remember dating this guy that I played volleyball with. I was on a volleyball team, and we were really good. It was like, how you like rub shoulders and you touch fingers in a restaurant and stuff. And he came over to my house and he saw the work I was doing and he left so fast it'd make your head spin.
Wow. And you remember that moment.
And I thought, whoa, I'll learn this lesson. Yeah. But I really never thought to myself as like doing something. I swear to you, I was just making my work from love of making it. And I had a whole coterie of friends that thought like I did. So I just assumed all the feminists thought like this pro-sex feminist movement, because those are the ones I know. I look at Susie Bright, and I looked at Ellen Willis, and these are people I really admired, and I saw all of this behavior about owning agency, and I thought that's where feminism was. I was gobsmacked by the reaction when I showed this body of work. I did not expect that it was I would be considered a traitor to feminism, and that I was using porn, so I must have been aligning myself with, this idea of pro-sex feminism was a nascent thought. Whereas I came to it really in a kind of organic way, because at one point I thought, oh, Playboy, ha ha. Any guy who says to you they read it for the articles, what bullshit,
Sure.
And then I just went 180. Well, I kind of like this, I like looking at beautiful women and naked women, I think that, and it sort of turns me on. Some people really turn me on. I thought, oh, well, let's see if I can own this. Does it mean anything if I do it, if I own the projection of it? And I've still sort of stayed that way. And I'm waiting, and women now, directors are starting to make porn that's from their own pleasure. I mean, they haven't started. They've been doing it for a while. But back in the day, it was just, Candida Royale, people like that. There was a handful of us. And Susie Bright had Off Our Backs, that magazine.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah. My whole entire support system were lesbians, basically. Yeah,
There
and
you
gay
go.
men. Yeah. Straight women were totally freaked out, except for the handful. And I did have a handful of support from straight women.
But mostly from
gay men and lesbians.
Yeah, you're a big advocate in the queer community.
Well, I'm a big fan of the queer community.
I know you are.
Yeah.
I know. Thank God I'm queer.
Oh, thank God. Especially now. My God.
Oh, it's
like shocking.
Shocking.
Florida. Don't say gay. I can't
Please.
even believe my ears.
We are so fucking lucky to live in this city.
Well, you don't know how hard this is for me. I've been working for Planned Parenthood since I was a
I
kid,
don't know.
since the 70s. And to see what's happening in Texas, it's like I never thought this day would come, and I've been, oh, and by the way, when I did the hardcore porn, I was still doing clinic defense at Planned Parenthood when I got excoriated by the press. But I have to go back because my side won. And you know why? The internet. Yeah. Oh, sunshine is a disinfectant. Information. People just need information. Those poor fucking souls that are afraid of the word gay or trans, they don't even know the language. What are they afraid of? Why can't the patriarchy share power? They're not going to lose anything. We're only asking to share power. We're not trying to take over. What's so hard about this?
What is so hard about it? I mean, that's the question. And I feel like, there are a million answers to that. Tolerating complexity. And that seems to be the theme of this conversation. But yeah, listen, it's generational. When I came out, my Nana, my grandmother, immediately, there was never, she grew up in Queens, there wasn't, immediately it was, we will not be together in heaven. And that's genuinely,
it's heartbreaking.
But it's genuinely what she believes to this day. She's still alive. And so, quite honestly, we don't speak about it anymore because she was such a pivotal, influential, loving person in my life. But you speaking of tolerating complexity, for me too, towards that.
Because I know. We have to forgive each other.
Yeah.
That's why I started the conversation talking about this, because we have to unite. We have to figure out ways to tolerate each other. And we're more alike than different. We love it. Everyone loves their children.
And porn.
Yeah, and porn, yeah. Unless they're repressed or think they're going to burn in hell. Yeah. Who doesn't love porn?
Well, but that's what I'm saying. We really are all joking aside, more alike than not.
Mm-hmm.
So we know you're married to a man. How do you identify as a straight woman?
Oh, I'm totally straight.
I love
Pathetically straight.
Have you ever experimented?
Not even kissed a girl.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Really?
I think I'm the only person I know. I'm so straight.
Wow. Well, I actually love that even more because, it really does feel like you stand with our community.
Oh, I always have.
Understand.
This is like 5 or 6 years ago. I was at a dinner raising money for, I won't even name the name. It was the Gay and Lesbian Center.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so stunning to me that someone came up to me and said, "Why are you here?" And I didn't even know what she meant. So, what do you mean, because I'm straight?
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what an asshole.
I know. I thought, what the fuck? I've always been, I used to walk, I was working with an AIDS activist, I'm doing all the marches. How could anyone talk like that? I'm just a human being who hates injustice.
And isn't that enough?
Yeah,
and isn't
really.
that
I'm not
needed?
Black either, and I can go in a Black Lives Matter march. Yeah. I was so stunned. I've never gotten over that. That was only 6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Isn't it?
What did you say?
I said, "What are you talking about?" What do you mean? I didn't even get it.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I did say that.
Like, what are you talking about?
I said, "What do you mean?" I said that. What do you mean? And I don't even know what she said. But it was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Or something like that. She did get it right away. Something's wrong with that question.
Yeah.
And she's someone you know. She's in the art world.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Marilyn.
I know. But that's what I mean. I forgive her.
Yeah. That's, and I think when there's so much injustice.
Yeah.
Listen, an advocate is an advocate. I'll take anyone I can get. And most people would say that.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I love these Republicans who are anti-Trump. I listen to them. I say, okay, because they know the other Republicans.
Yeah.
So, okay, we need everyone we can get. You know, it's autocracy versus democracy, autocracy. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's really interesting because I have family members, many of my family members are Republicans, but then there's a handful of them that are not Trump supporters, and they're the ones that I'm open to having the conversations
Oh,
with,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because again, I'll take what I can
You
get
take what you
with
can
that.
get. You just, I mean, we can't vote our conscience anymore. We have to vote strategically.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, our conscience got us Trump. You know, the people that couldn't vote for Hillary.
It's true.
Yeah, that's, you know, I want to kill them all, but but that's why we have, you know, they basically I forgive them because they were so ignorant. But how would they know? They're young. They were all young. They were all Bernie bros. They don't really, I was like that when I was 22. I voted with my conscience
Yeah.
instead of strategically, and I've never done it since. Actually, my big the lesson was I thought about voting for Nader instead of Al Gore, but I didn't vote for Nader. And because you know, so many people did vote for Nader, we had George Bush.
Yeah.
And so that was my learning. So you learn. I learned. And I really thought about voting for Nader.
But then you realize that that's
That's
not going to get
stupid.
you to
Yeah.
the place where you
Yeah.
want to be.
Yeah. That's stupid.
So activism, you famously said that when you're reading the news, if you're not upset, you're asleep,
Yeah. Well,
and everyone has to do something for justice. So
but not everybody is an artist, you know, and a lot of people don't pay attention. And, you know, if they can't do it, they can't. You can't really, they have to feel it in their own lives to get there.
well, and I'm also a firm believer with power comes responsibility,
Yeah.
right? So you are a famous artist, and is that how you feel? You know, I'm in this position and I've worked very hard to get here, and you know, I can be part of the change that I want to see. And so does it feel
I don't know any other way to do it. It's like I don't really think about it strategically that way. I think, you know,
it's just how you feel?
yeah, I don't. I think, you know, same thing. We have to work in terms of the good is not the enemy of the best. So we have to be able to work towards the good, and it's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Even when I work on, you know, I'm a very good sloganeer, and I'm good at propaganda, and I'm good at making propaganda art for raising money. I always work with humor because I think it's so much more powerful than anger.
You did Can't Fuck With Us, Can't Fuck Without Us
Yeah,
for Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, for Planned Parenthood.
Brilliant.
But I didn't do it. I read that somewhere and I made pins. That's the difference. I wish I thought of it, but I didn't. I don't take credit. Someone else wrote it somewhere. It was on the internet. And I thought, oh, well, let's make pins like that.
Yeah, but now it's essentially yours. I mean, I wear that pin, and
Yeah,
it's Marilyn
yeah.
Minter.
It's really Planned Parenthood.
It's so good.
Yeah. But I believe in, you know, I mean, I watched this. What really changed my mind was watching this tuba player in, I guess it was Kentucky or North Carolina, trolling the Ku Klux Klan marchers, and he's playing cartoon music. You know, I don't know. I don't know what that sounds like, but can you find that? We can show that to Emily. Okay, and it's just so brilliant. And I thought, oh my God, they don't even know what to do. Or in Denmark, they have instead of white power, they have bride power, and all these trans people dressed up as brides.
Oh, I love that.
All in white. Yeah, bride power. Or what was the other one? In Europe, they're everywhere. These kinds of anti-fascist, humorous ways. Like every time you march, you raise more money for, you know, people donate to raise more money. So whenever the marchers are they're fascist marchers, every kilometer that raises money, and they see these signs saying you're raising money, everyone's donating. Yeah,
it's
things
really
like that.
Brilliant. I love that.
And I collect these memes and these videos.
When did you become, well, first, speaking about Planned Parenthood, Marilyn, are you a mother?
No.
Did you ever want to be a mother?
Never, not for a second.
So there was never, was it ever a debate, or it just was something you knew from a very young age?
It wasn't even the idea of having a kid was horrifying to me.
Because?
Well, I think it was because I come from such a dysfunctional childhood. And I just had to survive. And the idea of took me a long time to learn how to take care of something else other than a pet. To actually take care of other humans was a leap for me. Took me a while in sobriety to be able to care about other people. I might have been slightly sociopathic when I first got clean and sober. I'm serious.
I don't doubt it, and I
Yeah.
think it's in a lot of us,
Mhm.
and especially coming from a dysfunctional home, it's very easy to lean towards that and then have to relearn.
But I did really always like my first, activism was civil rights. So that was from in the deep South. So it was like anything that wasn't close to me, really. I could see it from a distance. I was anti-Vietnam. I wasn't going to Vietnam. So it was just this kind of didn't I just thought outside the box, really, because I grew up outside the box. So just certain things never made sense to me. I remember watching, do you know the name Betty Friedan? Yeah, feminist mystique, Betty Friedan. I remember when I was in elementary school, junior high, I saw Betty Friedan on one of these talk shows, and she wrote the Feminine Mystique, and she was talking, and everything she was saying that I think was Mike Douglas. He was making fun of her, and the audience was laughing, and everything she said made sense to me.
And you felt connected.
I totally felt connected. It makes total sense to me, and that was before I even understood what it meant to be in male-female relationships. They were before I was even interested in them.
And what made sense to? I mean, everything.
Everything she said, like it's really she said that women can gets fulfilled working outside the home,
basically. Or not being a mom.
Yeah, exactly. Like I entertain the idea that this is a possibility too for women, or doing both. And that was like, they just thought that was ridiculous.
And I also think, the definition of something, and this sounds very cliche and corny what I'm about to say, but you're not a mother, right? You don't have children.
Well, I love kids, other people's.
But you're also,
my godchild works here since she was 16.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. I did a studio visit.
I have
with
grandchildren
her.
who I think are wonderful. But the idea of, I get to hand them back.
But you are a mother to all of us, right? There are so many different definitions.
Well, we choose our families, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens when you come to New York. A lot of people, they might love their parents, of course, but, people create their own families all the time.
I feel far more connected to, if you talk about nature and nurture, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you want kids?
So I've been trying for the past couple years.
All right.
And I don't know if it's going to happen for me. But it's obviously, this is a hit home topic. But it's really important to, sorry.
No, please. I think it's important that, and everyone should tell their truth.
So it's important to speak to women like you, because I am a very firm believer that, you do not have to have a biological child.
Oh, I believe
whether
that 100%.
Whether it's never having a child, adopting, fostering.
Yeah.
There are so many ways
to
mother.
Oh, yeah.
And this is shifting, right?
Know,
generationally,
right.
You're seeing these kids, far more of them like you, no, I do not want to have a child, or, I'm going to wait until my 50s and I'm going to foster a child.
Well, I love the kids I love all these kids that my kids have, the kids that work here. I watch them, I buy presents for Merry Christmas. I love watching them grow.
It's fun.
Oh, it's so much fun.
But then you can do whatever you want on the
weekends. I see them at Christmas parties and they go home. And they're so adorable. They're all adorable. Have you ever seen an ugly kid?
Oh, no.
Oh, you have? Yeah.
No, I love my two best girlfriends have 3 kids each, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And probably so much more fun than it ever will be if I become a mother.
Like, I watched my grandchild just looking at snails and just like so in wonder. Wow, they're everywhere. And
Yeah.
like she saw snails for the first time and it was like, wow, that's such a learning experience for me to see the world through their eyes.
And to see things for the first time. I mean, back to sobriety. It's like you
Yeah.
get sober and you're seeing
I
everything
I
for the
didn't see
first
10
time.
o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The texture of the air was even different than what I was used to.
I'm sure. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, talk about a rebirth.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for this, Marilyn. You have always, and I really mean this, been one of my favorite artists in the world. So this has been such an honor, and I know that you believe that, and I'm so grateful. And the art career is so grateful that you've shared your time with us, because ultimately it's the younger generation, right? I mean, and these artists are growing up and they're graduating, whether it's undergrad or their MFAs, and it's very easy to feel lost in the art world.
Oh, everyone that goes to grad school, they are scared to death.
That's why we're existing as an organization that, helps make that transition.
All of the other artists, when I start teaching, I just say to them right away, and especially the ones that come from Europe or Asia. It's so brave of you to be here. This is so scary to come to New York City.
Never.
Yeah.
I was born in New York City,
Yeah.
and I'm fucking scared shitless every day.
Yeah, yeah.
To come
You were
from
born in New York City. You're a rare creature.
Yeah, I was
Went to
born
PS
here.
something or other, right?
No, so I was born, and then my parents moved to the suburbs when I was little. My dad moved back here for a little while when my parents got divorced. But I grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut, which is right over the border.
I know
so
exactly
I
where it
was,
is, yeah.
back
and forth
all the time.
Yeah.
And my point is, I look at these kids, where are you from? Like, Ohio. And you came?
Oh my God.
Why? And it just there's so
well,
much braver
people
than
come in. It's like
I
another
am.
country in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, because other people that come here don't fit anywhere else.
No, would you agree? For me, it's my biggest love story.
Yeah, me too. It's the only place in the world where you can turn a corner and your whole life can change.
Yeah. On that note, I think we can end. Marilyn, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Art Career. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, please leave a review. We would love to hear your feedback and have your help growing our community. Make sure to visit our website, theartcareer.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast so you will never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Want to join our community? Check out our guide, The Contemporary Art Market 101. Our 101's membership provides private coaching and additional opportunities to grow your career. We can't wait to work with you.